It's time now for the Athlete of the Week on Mid-Minnesota Sports, and it's brought to you by Diamond Point and Sauk Center. And with us today is a four-sport athlete. Don't get to say that often. This is Cameron Brinkman from Melrose. Well, Cameron, let's start out with, first of all, what do you like to be called? Cameron or Cam or what?
I don't know. Both is good. I get called both very frequently. But
Can I hear Cammy once in a while?
sometimes, not usually. Sometimes they call me Bam.
Bam.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
It's close to Cam and it's like, bam. You know, it's got a little more sparkle to it.
All right. Let's tell us about your family first of all, okay?
My family, well, you know, I've got a pretty big family and 3 sisters that are wonderful role models for me and a little brother who loves me sometimes.
Okay. And what are your mom and dad's names?
Mark and Julie.
All right. And your sisters are who?
My sisters are Haley, Jalen, and Maddie.
All right, let's get caught up with your sisters too, because through the years we've heard those names a lot. Tell us, what are they up to these days?
Haley, well, we'll start with the oldest. She was working in the cities as a sports PT, but she recently accepted a job back at Century Melrose, so I'm very excited for that because she helps me with all my sports a lot. Jalen recently tore 3 ligaments in her leg, in her knee, and broke her tibia, so she's taking a year off of school to get her surgeries done. Mm-hmm. And then Maddie is doing amazing at diving at St. Cloud State, and she's working towards being a rad tech.
Mm-hmm. And where was your other sister? Was she competing?
Maddie?
Yeah.
She's currently competing as a St. Cloud State diver.
Okay, but excuse me, the other one, I forgot the name already.
Oh, Jalen?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's done with sports, and
Okay.
she was working towards being a chiropractor down at Northwestern, but is taking a year off due to injuries.
All right. As we're kind of on that, with your one sister still competing, is that what you plan on doing, or what do you think about after
college?
next year? Yeah.
I actually am committed to South Dakota State to run track.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's
I was
exciting.
I was thinking all along with gymnastics, but that's not in the cards for you, huh?
Well, it's really hard to get into a school that offers both your major and the sport of gymnastics when you only do high school. You have to do club gymnastics to get into all those big schools, but it's an option, but it wasn't what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, a 4-sport athlete. Usually it's a 3-sport athlete, but you do participate in 4. Can you tell us what are you involved in here at school?
In school?
Yeah, well, with sports too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, the sports I do are tennis, diving, track, and gymnastics. And then for school, I don't know. I like my schedule busy, so I try to stay away from study halls. Mm-hmm. And I take a lot of college classes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about college classes now. What are you doing in that regard?
Well, I actually talked to my advisor because I intend on being a nurse later for like my major in college. But so I'm trying to get more of like my sciences done. I've taken too much math, but math is fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. Just keep a busy schedule. It keeps me on my toes.
You know, this is the second time that we've been able to talk on Mid-Minnesota Sports. The first time was, how many years ago was that?
It was 8th grade.
8th grade.
It was, well, after my 8th grade year going into 9th grade.
And that was after the state track meet, right? Mm-hmm. And why did we talk at that time? What was going on?
Well, for some reason, I had a crazy PR at the state track meet my 8th grade season, and I got second for triple jump, which wasn't expected. I was seated close to last, but yeah, once again, my wonderful sister Haley helped me out with that. I do like some camps I did camps over the summer, and I can reach out to those resources as well as, you know, my sister Haley.
Lane 8, Melrose area, and Lane 9, Park Rapids.
Carolyn, my track coach. There was Molly, I don't know her last name. She helped out a lot last year too. That was nice to have a new face, but of course YouTube does some tricks too.
Mm-hmm. You know, as we're in gymnastics season right now, and with your gymnastics, you're certainly well known with that. How long have you been competing in gymnastics? When did that all start?
As long as I can remember. It started way back in elementary school, 2nd-ish grade probably. I mean, I did the rec program, and then I got moved up to Rising Stars with my sister Maddie, and I was actually mad. I didn't want to be with her because she got on my nerves sometimes, but yeah. So then I moved up through the MAGA Rising Stars program and started 7th grade with the high school.
And you've been to the state meet how many times?
every year since 7th grade.
Okay. And what are your highest finishes? Because it's been so many times that you've been there, I've certainly lost track. Can you fill us in?
Well, my highest finishes was actually last year in the all-around. Individually, I got 4th. And actually, I think it was my 9th or 10th grade year, I tied for 4th on vault. But I've placed every year except for 8th grade on vault. And of course, the team did really well my first years when they kept taking 2nd for a while. But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, can I ask you, when you first start out and you're about this big and you weigh 70 pounds and you're flipping all over the place, but as you get older and taller and, you just grow up.
Yeah.
How does that change for you? How do you have to adjust yourself through the years?
There is definitely at least one year I hope every gymnast goes through. I know I went through it where I had a huge growth spurt. It was going into 8th grade. I feel like I grew a foot taller. I don't know, but your whole entire body changes. You have to learn what moves what again. It's a really hard transition. It was for me at least, but.
So with some of the routines that you're doing now, tell us about those, especially on the bars, I think, as you go around. Is this something that you've been working on and you're pretty happy with where you're at right now?
I'm fairly happy, but I know I can do better because you can always do better, but I don't know, it's kind of harder for me because I definitely have some long legs that it's a lot more work to get around the bars, and sometimes you nick the little bar. It can scare you a little bit, shake you up, but I'm fairly happy. I mean, I've come a long ways, especially since I hit that growth spurt. It was a really hard transition. I lost all my skills for a short period of time, but.
Speaking about being taller too, and even your sisters are taller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did they have to adapt to that too, and how did you learn from that?
Well, I haven't really talked to them about it, but I assume they had a similar process to what I did. They did put a lot of time outside of season, so they never really stopped doing gymnastics. They would go to a gym in St. Cloud, and they knew the owners, and they did high school classes there as well as some private lessons with other gym coaches, but I assume they just went through a similar process to me where they just had to recuperate a little bit.
As I watch some of your teammates through the years with gymnastics, and you too, there's injuries to deal with, right?
Oh yeah, last year was a prime example.
So what kind of injuries have you had? How have you gotten over that, not only physically, but how does that affect you mentally?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, my most severe injury was actually this summer, late June into early July, I believe. I subluxed my heel and tore my plantar fascia. And I literally just did that hurdling for a vault, my best event, which was something, it was a complete fluke. I went to the Mayo for it because my sister was doing a residency there at the time. They had never seen an injury like this, so it was very common in older people actually, but it was probably the best injury for me to have compared to a complete dislocation or worse, an Achilles tear like Greta had last year. But basically, I just had to take time off, and that's really hard for me because the more time you take off, the more time it takes to get back into it. So
it seems to me in gymnastics too, it's not so much necessarily the meet itself, it's that practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely, recently our most practice have been focused on doing a lot of routines, so you do 5 routines in practice, so it's easy to do just one during the meet. And so you need to practice like champions if you want to be a champion. That's what Katie always tells us, and that's what we're really working towards this year, and I think it's going to pay off. I got a feeling.
Before we talk about more of your sports, I just want to ask you personally, how would you describe yourself with your personality?
I'm kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of girl. I don't know. The more you smile, the happier you are. And it's not all of me. It's a lot of the people who I'm around. I'm given a lot of great people to work with, and they make it easy to be happy, and they make it really fun to do sports. And I hope every team has that.
Let me explain why I'm going to say this to you, okay? I'm going to compare you to a light switch, all right? Because here's what I see with you. You know everybody. In swimming or gymnastics or whatever you're doing, you are just always in conversations with everybody. But then you've gone through your life with your name being announced a million times, right? But then here's the light switch. You just switch it off, it seems, and then you focus in what you have to do. Is that true?
Well, yeah, focus. Well, back to that injury thing, if you don't focus, you've got a lot higher chance of being hurt. But I think it's really important to have fun with your sports, especially floor routines. they're a lot of work, and like I think the best way to do it is just keep smiling your way through it. Get a little sassy into it. That's what I try to do, at least.
But as I see you with other competitors too, because I know you're a strong competitor yourself, but again, as you talk with other people, how do you kind of mix that together to where you're friendly with them, but then you're also in the back of your head going, I'm winning this thing?
Well, there's a difference between like competition and like regular life. Like we're all just people, We have our things to talk about, catch up on girl talk and boy talk, I guess. I don't really do a lot of sports with boys though.
So you play tennis in the fall, and then you also do the diving as well. How do you make that work?
The coaches mostly, they just do a lot of deciding for which meets are more like pivotal and like which ones are going to be close cut. And so they try to mix it. This year was different for me because I was injured almost all of my fall season, where I couldn't play. I actually played some tennis in my boot, but you can't quite dive in a boot. But yeah, my coaches just, if it gets down to it, they ask me if I really have a preference, and I usually don't. But
so as you get into the track season then too, just overall with the Melrose track these days, it seems to me the numbers are growing. There's great enthusiasm here, isn't there?
Yeah, Carolyn Masha does a stupendous job with that. We actually started younger kids program this summer. It was like once a week for like a month, I think, and it was for like the wee little kids. That's where it all starts with everybody, is that recreational programs, and our school does a really good job at offering that for a lot of sports, I think, and I think that's super cool. But
so right now with track, what are you competing in?
I haven't started my season yet, obviously take it one sport at a time, but I will be doing probably triple jump, long jump, 4x100, 100. Maybe we'll play with the 200. Haven't talked to my coaches in a while.
All right. Again, I think it's already been pointed out that you can do so many things so well. I could see you playing volleyball and basketball and softball, but how did you choose the sports that you were in? It was, I suppose, with gymnastics, your sisters were in it, and you just kind of, but all the other sports too. What attracts you to them?
What attracts me to the sports I do?
Yeah.
Well, I like track a lot because, my sisters did start it, and they kind of planted that seed in my head, but it's a really social sport where you can talk to anybody, and like there's a lot of it's a wide variety of people. I don't know how else to describe it, but I think it's a good sport to teach people lessons. Same with like gymnastics. It teaches you life lessons like left and right, just how to deal with like hard times, good times, how to push through injuries even when you shouldn't.
You've been involved in so many big moments too, so like going out of the state as many times as you do. What's the atmosphere like? How, again, I go back to that light switch when you're out there and now your name is called. What goes through your head to get yourself ready to go do what you do? I'm a big fan of, just taking in the good, letting out the bad, focusing on like calming my breathing. I hate to say like tricking yourself, but just carrying yourself with confidence. I think that's the best way to set yourself up for success. Like, it starts from the moment you walk on the floor. Yes, well, you do. You do really good with that. Just for fun, then, I pointed out all the things you can do well. Tell us, just for fun, what can't you do?
I'm really bad at like softball and baseball. Hand-eye coordination and like catching, throwing is not my cup of tea.
Really?
Shooting a basketball? Nope.
All right. Well, that's good to know too.
Yeah.
What else do you do for fun then outside of your sports? Because I'm sure sports takes up so much of your time.
Oh yeah. Well, my sister is Haley. Her boyfriend Gary, he owns a nice like wakeboarding boat, and he's really into wakeboarding. He can do the flips too, so he fits in perfect with us. But I'm actually like do wake surfing sometimes on the lake. I live on Little Birch Lake, which is awesome. I love the lake life. Oh, it's just great, I try wakeboarding, but I'm a little chicken sometimes.
Can I ask you a dumb question?
No question's a dumb question.
As you do all this flipping and you're going around the bars like you do, don't you ever get dizzy?
Yeah, especially if you there's certain parts of routines where you have to, they're your calm parts where you can breathe. Example, like a squat on. When you jump on that low bar and stand up, you gotta breathe. Otherwise, you keep holding your breath, and then when you go upside down, it's really hard to breathe with all the gravity, of course, and physics. And
so as you compete then too, we talked and touched on injuries to where not everything works great all the time. You may fall off the beam. Again, how do you reset yourself because you've been doing this for so long? How do you get back up there and not be afraid, or what's going through your mind?
Well, I like to focus, like if I fall on beam, for example, what's in the past is in the past. We actually practice where if you fall in practice, you have to get up and finish your routines because you're not just going to quit in the middle of a meet. So, I don't know, I like to just be like, oh, it's in the past. There's nothing I can change about it. All I can do is hit everything else perfect to make up for it.
Is there a lot of pressure on you just individually and as a team too to say, again, in gymnastics, you've got to say Detroit Lakes.
Yeah.
They know everything you do. How do you handle that kind of pressure?
Well, I don't know. I used to feel a lot of pressure just because, I wasn't as confident as I am now. I'm more confident now because I've been doing my skills for so long, but I have a good team this year and past years especially, but this year they're just amazing and I can't thank them enough because it was a couple weeks ago I had the worst meet of my life and we still scored the same score because all of the younger girls and same age picked me up, and I don't know. We have a good team this year. I'm just so excited and
You've touched on your coaches too, and maybe past teammates as well. Can you just highlight some of those people and what they've meant to you throughout your years here? Because you've been around for a while now.
You can say that. Well, Jeremy and Katie, they're like my second mom and dad. I mean, gymnastics takes a lot of reps and a lot of time. There's no cheater way around it. So I've had them for as long as I can remember. Jeremy was a family friend, and of course Cassie and Sherry, who are the JV coaches, they're just as close with us. You got all those inside jokes with them. They're just amazing people. Tennis, we had Sarah Engelmeyer, and she's the biggest sweetheart you can make, and she just makes you feel very at home, and she just knows how to cheer you up when you need it. Carolyn, I've also had her almost as long as she's been coaching because she's a track coach and a diving coach. So we have grown very close through that. She's been down to multiple state meets with me as well. And who am I missing? Oh, my sisters. They like to coach me outside of season. Jalen, Maddie, Haley, you name it. They all got my back.
But we should touch on too, Mom and Dad have been around too, haven't they?
Oh yeah, of course. They support me unfathomably. I don't know.
Yeah. Because they've taken you everywhere, haven't they?
Yeah, and they come to everything. It's a little different with Josh and wrestling, that my dad usually tries to go support him because sometimes it just happens to be on the same day. My mom, though, she does scoring for gymnastics meets, and she's a smart cookie. Yeah, my mom's very good at calming me, I guess, and my dad's very aggressive, and he knows how to motivate me, I guess.
Well, all in all, it's been pretty fun here, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, that you, Cameron Brinkman, as a Melrose Lady Dutchman, will go down as one of the best ever in all your sports and just your total body of work. It's just been outstanding. So congratulations to you and all the talent that you have. And just again, your personality. I think you rub off on so many people. Do you kind of feel that too, that people are looking at you and you have to set a good example? Definitely,
especially with young teams I've been around and just being on varsity track. It's everybody. JV and varsity, they're separate, but sometimes younger kids come up and I don't know, I want to leave a good example for them too. You don't want to be remembered as some crabby lady. I don't think it's kind of common sense, but
well, believe me, you're going to go out just fine.
I hope I'm not a crabby lady.
No, and good luck in the future too, okay? And again, where are you going?
South Dakota State University in Brookings.
All right, and how did you end up going there?
Well, it was down to Mankato, where I've had a track coach that's very close. He's known me since 6th grade because he tried recruiting Haley, but he was the coach at Mankato. And then I really liked the nursing program and the track facility at South Dakota. So I actually emailed the coaches, and then they said they would love to offer me scholarships and stuff like that. But it was more of a homey vibe.
All right.
Small town.
Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thanks for being with us today, okay? All right, that's Cameron Brinkman, a four-sport athlete here at Melrose on Mid-Minnesota Sports as our Athlete of the Week, brought to you by Diamond Point in Sauk Center.